So we're this
Moving
one.
up there.
This one's actually sort of a response video a little bit, but also just a buyer beware. The whole like Hendrix Strat, is it his Strat, not his Strat fiasco that's sort of happening right now with Sir Paul Davids and like the group that's selling it, whose name shall not be named because I don't want to get a cease and desist from them either.
No.
But it's a tricky issue.
Yes.
We deal with vintage guitars quite a bit, and it is always one of those things. We've been doing it for years too, and you're always a little bit nervous going into it. I mean, correct?
Yeah, absolutely, because it's hard. It's just sometimes it's just hard to say. And like in the case of Paul Davids, it sounds like they had some provenance, they had documentation, they had like these witness things. I think any reasonable person, first glance, they see that without doing the forensic, like, oh, the marks are different. You probably think, okay, this is a Hendrix
100% would have been on that plane to go do that same video. 100%.
Yes. No, I don't. When we said this in our podcast, we don't think Paul Davids is at all.
No, he's green light clear. I'm gonna stick on that one. It's just vintage instruments in general though. Like that one's tricky because it's got the provenance of Jimi Hendrix. That becomes a whole other mess and bag of worms that you're opening up.
And just a whole other level. But
it's a whole other. Just the financial level is insane. It's like we don't deal with like guitars of that like sort of pedigree usually.
No,
that is a different. When you're talking $10 million and whatnot as an ask price, it's a little bit absurd, and you do have to be really careful. Like I was having an argument with Derek this morning when we were prepping this video. I was like, like if I'm buying that guitar, if I feel confident in it and it says it's Jimi Hendrix guitar, I'm happy as a buyer. If I have $10 million, I probably have a few $100 million, maybe $1 billion. So $10 million isn't going to kill me, and I've got Jimi Hendrix's guitar. I can brag to all my friends. $10 million isn't going to kill me.
Yeah, it's just $10 million.
No
big deal.
But you know what I mean? Like that.
So what you're kind of saying is that just the joy, like when you think that it's that, like just the joy that it brings you.
And there's enough like facts that maybe like I can believe it is. There's maybe, but then Derek's counterpoint, which I think is valid, is like most of the guys that are buying guitars of this are showboater dudes that want to show it off.
Right.
Like they own football teams. They own like major tech companies and. They like to put them in like places where everybody can see them. This is validated. I'm more of a private guy in that respect, I guess. So it's different.
Maybe this is true. I don't know. Maybe I'm odd in this, but like it's hard for me to even wrap my brain around. Like I've never been a collector of things, right? Like I don't collect anything really. You know what I mean? Like I like things that are sort of. Babies. I do love Beanie Babies.
You do have a mass. His collection. He has them on like these built-in shelves.
Shelves full. It's great.
And she said, and they're all labeled according to year and memories. Continue.
I mean, my mom did have quite a problem back in the day. But anyways, we're gonna retire on this. It's gonna be great. No, but yeah, good job, Mom.
Oh, still working at the chicken farm.
Anyways. It's hard for me to say, like, I'd spend this $10 million on a thing just because, like, Hendrix, that's different, right? It's a piece of history, but I don't know. I want a guitar to feel amazing, to play amazing, to be like that magical thing when I play it.
But this is not one of those things you're playing.
It's not that. So it's hard for me to even wrap my brain around that whole world. It's like
buying a fine piece of sculpture.
Yeah, well, and even the amp that my wonderful wife bought me, the Mike Campbell amp, I would have been a little disappointed if it would have sounded like crap.
Speaking of the devil, sorry, side note, I was having lunch with my mother, and it was so sweet because she goes, you know who's really good? It's Mike Campbell, the guitar player for Tom Petty. I'm like so proud of my mom.
It's a woman with taste.
My mom, the Outlander obsessed, who knows who Mike Campbell is. And she goes, do the guys in the shop like Mike Campbell? And then, Derek was with us. We were all having lunch together. And Derek goes, Jonathan has Mike Campbell tattooed on his arm pretty much. She's like, oh, that's wonderful. It's just so cute.
That makes me happy.
Isn't that neat? It's just neat that my mom is like, in her twilight years, she's like rediscovering music and like learning about all the musicians in the bands. And I love that. Back to vintage guitar.
That's fantastic.
Cool, right?
Makes me happy.
Direct connection. That
was
a
smile on my face this morning.
So let's just say you're not buying Jimi Hendrix guitar. You want to get in the vintage market. Buyer beware. It's really dangerous out there. When I show up to buy a vintage piece, and I'm usually having to drive quite a few hours.
Yes.
I show up with my tool bag. I've got my camera. I've got my computer. I'm gonna take this guitar apart. When there's 5 figures of cash being laid out for anything, a guitar is getting disassembled in some way so I can inspect it.
I mean, you have to. How that's the only way to know what's original, what's not.
I'm looking at the neck. I'm looking at the pickups. I'm looking at the pots. I'm looking at the way it's cut and carved.
You have to, yeah.
Got the micrometer. Like that doesn't matter as much. It's more of an eyeball and feel thing. But really checking out the pots, checking out the pickups, checking out the neck. The pots could have been changed, and that's fine. But I want to know that.
Sure.
I want to, if it's 100% original, it's 100% original. If it ain't, it ain't. You know, and it's
that's all affects price. Yeah.
But no, but it's that's what I do. But like a lot of people out there buying now, we live on an internet buying world. You can't do that. You're buying it sort of with a trust and spec, and like, and I'm here to say like I don't know if you should always trust. And
well, here's my question.
I hate that because I love everybody.
And I feel like you have a good handle on these things, so I'm going to ask you. And he's the only one here. So let's say not about. I mean, like, you know, someone who knows can look at the pots and all these are original pots and all this looks right. You can pretty much say, okay, this is a 63 Strat or this is a 57 Strat or whatever, right? You can get, you know, fairly concretely, usually can say those things.
Usually.
If it's, you know, so and so owned this guitar. If it's this is a guitar that maybe not Jimi Hendrix, maybe Dickie Betts owned, or you know what I mean, something like that. That maybe we're not talking tens of millions of dollars.
Jimmy Vaughn, Dickie Betts, sort of like in that.
That a normalish person, could is going to buy. How much is enough to feel good about that guitar? Like, what would make you feel good about it?
As far as the being able to make sure
yes,
the provenance and pedigree of it.
Like, what would you know? You're going to Pawn Stars. You're walking in, and you're gonna say, "Hey,
I'm gonna need to see like probably pictures of the artist with the guitar."
Okay.
I would prefer to have a signed thing from the artist if the artist is still alive.
Sure.
And that is very possible. That's usually been done because they've been sold through charity circuits and whatnot. If you're not going to sign thing, I do want like photographic evidence that I can really check like the relic and the wear
stuff. Yeah.
It's tricky. That is. It becomes a whole different issue, and that's where like when you jump back to the Paul Davids sort of piece in mind, like I don't know, man. I would have like, after seeing the provenance he saw, I 100% would have thought that's the guitar without a doubt.
I think so too.
And I would have, I wouldn't have gone there. Like they've already done the work, so I'm not here to buy the guitar. I'm not here to sell the guitar for that. I'm just here to
play. He's there to make a video, right?
And like just enjoy it. Which I would have probably, if somebody's like, "Hey Baxter, will you come to Europe from where I am now to play?" I would go to play Jimi Hendrix's guitar from here.
I would make that.
Make the trip
okay, cool.
And make the video.
I have to pay for my plane ticket. Okay.
Well,
I mean, yeah.
I'm gonna make the video, and hopefully I can recoup some on the YouTube monetization from it if I'm a YouTube channel of that scale. That's tricky though. But it's going back to even buying any vintage pieces. Like I've talked to the Fender Custom Shop before about this as well, because like we talk to them every day 3 times at least, it seems, probably 6 times a day sometimes if we're all sort of at full gear on it. They probably hate us. God, I feel bad for those guys. Ed, sorry you have to deal with us. Kurt, I'm sorry. You got promoted. You don't have to deal with us anymore.
He escaped.
Congratulations, Kurt. That was a bit back, but still, great guy, gorgeous man, but he's free from the casino for a little bit.
He spread his wings.
I did talk to him last week, though. I had a question. I have a scheme I'm working on with the custom shop. But anyway, they are very particular about protecting their parts. So they don't sell any secondhand like necks, like, pots or bodies or pickups. Like they do the pickups, but it's sold as sets. But they will not sell like, the Relic bodies or the Relic necks. And then this is something else I've had customers ask for sometimes. I want to get the neck without the stamp on it. And they're a strict no on that for 2 reasons: to protect their product so it's not confusing out there, but also there's cases where people will try to remove the stamp because their necks are so good, and they will put those together with other vintage pieces to sell it as a vintage guitar. And because if you get like a no-caster, like neck, and you don't have a stamp on it, it looks like a real no-caster neck, especially if you have a Vincent one.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like you
some really, really do. Some not so much. You like they're just depends on
No,
what
and
you
I'll
get,
have people come and like, I don't know, that Relic's like that's too Relic or something. Man, I've seen like the old guitars that it looks like it was chewed up by a beaver on the fretboard.
I used to think that. I was like, man, there's no way these old guitars are this beat
Then
to
we
hell.
start seeing the old ones.
You're like, oh, wait, no, they are. Wait, they're more beat to hell.
Who
Oh, the pick guard's
played
broken
this?
too. Cool,
And then,
damn.
you realize some of the guys we meet that like these dirty old dudes that have been playing these for like decades, and they're just like, yeah, just lean against the
Never clean them, never touch
like,
them.
lean
you know,
against
yeah.
the truck, I'm not playing it, knocked over a few times, headstock's a little chipped. It's like, geez Louise, like, 'cause I sort of take care of my stuff, but I've always been a bit nerdy. But I'm playing the guitar, I'll beat the crap out of it. But, well, not really. I used to.
I mean, I kind of do.
Well, you do. You're still like a pro musician. I'm just I'm
so-
a retired hack at this point.
That's a
Pro.
sketchy distinction.
He's like pro, sort of like Kevin Costner and Bull Durham pro.
Yeah, exactly.
And the glory years are over.
Paid dozens of dollars.
Just Susan
Sometimes.
Sarandon, maybe that's like where you need to end up. Which
Yeah.
she was so hot in that movie though. Oh my god, that
Slow
might
burn.
be Kevin Costner's finest movie.
Could be.
And so I'm a Dances with Wolves guy, and the Postman's great. Waterworld, it's a little scary, but still love it. Dennis Hopper in there, but no, Bull Durham's a wonderful, like sort of coming of age and coming of age for like in your 40s. And you're approaching that, in your 30s, and you're approaching the end of your career, maybe type of. It's a great movie, but no. So that's why the custom shop does that.
Well, they stamped the Relic under the pick
They
guards.
do, and
you know?
that's the other thing that
Which
they
is
do.
nice.
They do that for a reason, to protect you and their brand. So it's safe. So people are like, oh, you can take off the
Can't
pick
pass it
guard.
off. Yeah.
It's part. It's Relic.
Smart. I think that's
carved in
very,
there.
very wise.
It's CNC'd in there. There's not something carving Relic in.
It'd be really funny if there was like a little elf who only carved Relic in the guitars. That was their whole job.
I'm just trying to think of the few times I've been at the custom shop. I've never seen an elf there. It's no. So if you are buying vintage, just buy from a shop you trust. And even there, just you can ask questions. It's okay.
Yes.
Like you can ask for pictures if you want. You can do all of this stuff. Like and if something doesn't work out and the guitar's not what it appears to be, like let the shop know immediately. Don't wait a few weeks or a few months. Like it's just not. Even if that does happen, that's not fair. There's that one case we worked with a guy in Ireland, I think, that bought from a place in Nashville. I'm not going to say the shop's name because I don't really want to bring it back up in that respect.
That's true. I forgot about that. That's true. Yeah.
But no, but that was one of those things that could have been handled so easily. So easily.
If it was just
like,
right.
oh, like, this isn't exactly. Hey, no worries, man. Like, sorry if we made a mistake here. If those aren't the original tuners or something, we thought they were. Can we refund you a few $100? Just does that make? And like, I'm happy, cool as a customer. Unless you're like one of those guys. It said original all the way. I want this one thing. I'm not happy anymore because I'm trying to flip this thing or whatever.
Yeah,
that wasn't this guy's case. This guy was a cool dude.
He was very cool.
Super nice from what it sounded like, but both sides, it was just like one miscommunication that became a thing. But vintage guitar buying is tricky. It's becoming trickier too because the fakes are better.
They're getting better and better and better.
At least there's the internet where we can all sort of talk and sort of compare, and we find like the bad people out there pretty quickly and can wash them out.
But it's certainly, we've talked before about how guitars from certain companies and certain factories, like they've gotten better because they've been doing it for so long. I guess the downside of that is the fakes. Same thing has happened, right?
That's a good point.
But, it's sort of a parallel
And
thing
then
there.
cycling back to the Sir Paul Davids, I think he did a masterful video there. It was inspiring to me. I watched it when it first came out.
Yeah, it was
like,
great.
I don't watch all of his videos. I just don't have time. And like that was one I was like, I gotta watch this one. It was really cool. It was all of his videos are pieces of art. But
it was like when you and maybe this speaks to your original point. Just watching that video and be like, oh, that's the Hendrix Strat. Before I had any reason to not think that, it seemed kind of magical.
It inspired me a little bit. It's like the fact that
like I was happy I was like, man, that is amazing. Yeah.
And I enjoy that. And I think he's handled it pretty well. He's put like something on his feed of his YouTube, and he's changed the title of it just to reflect it. It's a tricky game out there.
When I read his little pinned comment, it makes me sad for him, right? Because I think he was a little sad that, hey, this huge like moment in your life, like
I still like to hold out that maybe it is the thing, and like and that's the tricky thing with it. I don't know. Some of the stuff is a little questionable.
It's pretty questionable.
I still believe in Narnia, though. It's I can't wait to watch Lord of the Rings with my kids. I'm almost got prepped. But no, and in dealing, we've talked about before in our podcast, like dealing with the Hendrix estate is difficult because there is.
I wouldn't want to do it.
Because he didn't have any heirs.
No.
That really have his. There was no wife and children and heirs, so there's no like direct love. It's a business. It's a business that is
trying
sort
to
of, that
cash
lives.
in. Yeah.
And it's not like you can go back and it's hard to find the people that are connected because this is a long time ago. A lot of people are dead. And again, the Hendrix estate is not always the easiest to talk with. Whereas I feel like, the SRV estate is amazing. And those people loved him.
We talked about the difference in that. The people who handle his stuff, it seems like sacred
Loved
to them.
him. It was.
And the Jimmy stuff, they're like, oh yeah, we can put out this shitty recording and make a few dollars. Hell yeah, let's do it.
I know. Or Greg Allman's or not Greg, I'm sorry, Dwayne Allman. Well, Greg as well. God, it's depressing. I can't believe he's gone too.
Don't think about it too much. I know.
He died when everybody was dying. It's like sort of that swath of the loss. And but I feel like the Allman estates, they love, you've got
like treasure it,
You've got the Magic House. You've got the Magic Guitars. It's like Graceland, which is Grace. It's always shocking when people go there not as big as I thought it was going to be. And oh my God, it's tacky.
Yeah. But I mean,
oh my
it's
Lord.
Elvis. What are you going to do?
I know. No, but it's tricky. Just beware. If you have questions, reach out to people. Even if you're not trying to buy a guitar, we help people all the time with guitars that are nothing to do with our selling of the guitars. We love it. We love the guitar world. If there's anything we can do to help, if there's anything other these great shops like Carter's and Groon's, the best in the vintage market out there. Rumble Seat, phenomenal. They got that game on fire.
Good resources.
Reach out to them. They'll help you. We're all guitar lovers at the end of the day. Don't be shy about it. We like to talk about guitars.
I think that's true.
My wife likes it too because she doesn't have to deal with me and trying to grope her.
There you go.
I was going to say court her, but it's just groping. Yeah. I'm a bad person. Yeah. That's all I got to say. Take us home, Johnny.
All right. Hit like and subscribe. Click the bell so you don't miss videos in the future. Don't forget to check out the podcast and all the other various things we have going on. We'll see you next time.
Wow, that was funny to me for some reason.